The movie begins and we see a family in a ship, which is on a trip to Europe, in which 9-year-old Richard and 7-year-old Emmeline are both cousins of each other. Richard's father Arthur tells them both to come down from the top of the ship. Richard's father tells Emmeline that we are going to reach our city soon. There are many people in this ship. Richard and Emmeline come to the room of a cook named Patty. Richard gets some nude photos here, which both of them watch very carefully. But then here comes Patty, who catches both of them looking at the photos. Patty hits Richard but Emmeline bites on his hand, due to which both run away. Then everyone comes to know that there is a fire in their ship. All the people present in the ship run to save their lives. Patty, who was the ship's cook, takes Richard and Emmeline in a small boat and goes down to the sea. All the people present in the ship sit in small boats, due to which the lives of all the people are saved. Their ship was burning, due to which a lot of smoke spreads all around, and nothing is visible around them. When the smoke calms, then Patty is alone in the sea with Richard and Emmeline. The next morning, when Emmeline wakes up, she sees a beautiful green island in front of her. She quickly wakes up to Patty and Richard. Patty is delighted to see the island, and he quickly turns the boat towards the island. They reach all 3 islands. There were different types of birds on the island, and there was water to drink, and there was no shortage to eat. After getting all these things, he becomes very happy, because now those people could live here, until some help was received. Patty finds a can here that is full of wine. Then Richard also finds a human skull here, which means there was someone here before him. Seeing all this, Patty does not feel anything right here, and he runs away with the children. Patty forbids Emmeline from eating the red berry, because it was poisonous, and eating it makes a person sleep forever, that is, he dies. Now Patty teaches Richard to fish, build a house and many more such things. One night, while the children were sleeping, Patty was drinking, when he hears some sound here, which was coming from the other side of the island. Next morning Patty goes to see that place. He sees some flesh pieces and blood on a stone here. Seeing this he gets scared, and immediately runs away from there. At night, Patty warns the kids never to go to the other side of the island, because there was something on that island that scared Patty. One night Patty drinks a lot of alcohol. He dances with the children for a while, and then because of his intoxication, he falls asleep here. Seeing Patty sleeping, the children also go to sleep. But when Patty wakes up in the night, he goes to a nearby island with a can of wine. In the morning, when Richard and Emmeline wake up, they start looking for Patty, but Patty is nowhere to be seen. Richard sees that Patty has gone to another island, so they both take the boat and reach him. Both of them see that Patty is dead. Both of them are very scared to see that, and Emmeline faints after seeing him. Now Richard comes back to the island with Emmeline. After leaving Patty, these children were very lonely. The same night Emmeline tells Richard that she has to go to another island. So the next morning, both of them leave that island and go to another nearby island. After coming here, they follow the things taught by Patty. They catch fish to eat, and build a house for themselves. Now both of them start spending their time like this, and many years pass like this. Now both of them were grown enough. They had learned to live on the island, and both of them were happy too. Now because both of them had grown up, so they were getting attracted towards each other. Due to the physical changes in their bodies, they knowingly and unknowingly start noticing each other. But they did not understand this feeling, nor was there anyone here who could explain this feeling to them. This feeling was completely new for them. One day Emmeline was swimming. When she sees blood in the water, she gets very scared on seeing the blood, and immediately calls Richard, but she sees that this blood was coming from her own body. Actually, it was her first period. When Richard comes there, he sees blood in the water. He asks Emmeline what happened, but Emmeline tells him to leave. Later, Richard asks Emmeline if she was bleeding. Then Emmeline says that I don't know. Richard had a feeling that perhaps Emmeline was injured somewhere. That's why he wanted to see that injury. But Emmeline does not tell him anything, due to which Richard gets angry, and starts leaving from there. He tells him that you hide many things from me. Now as time passes, these two start getting more and more attracted towards each other. Emmeline looks at Richard's body carefully, while Richard also used to see Emmeline secretly. One day, Richard and Emmeline hear the sound of drums playing somewhere, so Emmeline goes there to see, and here Richard was fishing. She climbs on the stone and sees. Then she comes to know that the sound is coming from another island, which they had left and came here. Emmeline goes a little further for a walk, where she sees a statue. When she comes to him she sees blood there. Seeing this, Emmeline runs away in fear and goes straight to Richard, and tells him the whole thing. On hearing this, Richard scolds him because since childhood he had been following that rule, that he would never go to the other side of the island. But today Emmeline broke that rule. One night, while Emmeline was sleeping, she had a dream in which she saw Richard drowning, due to which he died. Seeing this dream, she wakes up screaming. Emmeline was very scared, so she hugs Richard. She tells him, "You promise me that you will never leave me?" Richard says, "I promise I will never leave you." After this Emmeline kisses Richard, but Richard is unable to control his feelings here, and begins to dominate Emmeline, due to which Emmeline gets angry, and leaves from there. Now it was night, and Emmeline was sleeping. Then Richard comes to Emmeline and starts touching her. But then Emmeline wakes up, and chases her away. Richard was attracted towards Emmeline, but Emmeline did not understand his feeling. When it is morning, Richard leaves angrily. Emmeline asks him where you are going, but Richard does not even talk to him. Emmeline follows him to persuade him, where she sees Richard doing something, but what he is doing, Emmeline doesn't understand. She starts calling him, which makes Richard even more angry. One day Richard sees a ship, and upon seeing the ship, he immediately runs towards the house, because he had collected some wood to signal, which he could burn to signal them. Emmeline had also seen that sheep, but she did not burn those woods unintentionally. Richard asks for the reason. Then Emmeline does not answer him properly. Actually, Emmeline liked this place, and she wanted to stay here now. But Richard did not want to stay here at all. After so many years he saw a ship, but because of Emmeline she also left. Richard builds a boat for himself, and starts going alone with some food and drink, but after going a little further his boat breaks, due to which he has to return. Here Emmeline makes fun of her a lot, as well as she says, that I know what you were doing that day. Richard says, that it is wrong that you see me secretly. Then Emmeline says, that you also see me secretly, when I am without clothes. Richard makes fun of Emmeline, and starts teasing Emmeline by taking 2 coconuts, and placing them on his chest. Seeing this, Emmeline angrily hits her on the head with a coconut. In return Richard also gives Emmeline a slap, and after going home, he throws all of Emmeline's belongings outside. He says that I have built this house, so you cannot stay here. Now Emmeline has to live in a small cave, and it was raining heavily from above. Because of that quarrel, both of them were separated, and were not even talking to each other. In the meantime, Emmeline goes to place flowers on that statue. She considered that idol to be a god. When she was coming back, her foot fell on a poisonous fish, due to which she became very ill. For several days now Richard had not seen Emmeline, so he comes to the cave where Emmeline used to live. Here he sees Emmeline's condition and asks her what happened to you. Then Emmeline says, that my foot accidentally fell on a poisonous fish, which looked like a stone. Seeing Emmeline in such a condition, Richard gets scared, that nothing should happen to Emmeline. Emmeline tells him to take me to God. Actually Emmeline used to consider that statue as God. Richard brings it to that statue. Here Richard prays to God, that Emmeline gets well soon, and after taking rest for a while, Emmeline is completely fine. Now both of them forgot their quarrel, and started talking to each other, and both of them start spending time with each other. Rather, now they started living with each other more than before. One day they were sitting together and eating fruits. Only then both of them come close in talks, and kiss each other, and then after that both of them are physical with each other. For the first time he had understood this feeling, and felt it. Now both of them used to be very happy, and they used to romance many times in the day. Like this many days pass. One day Richard sees that Emmeline's health is not good, due to which, Emmeline was also unable to give time to Richard. Then Richard tells her, do you not love me anymore? Emmeline says there is no such thing, I am sick, I think there is something in my stomach. Richard puts his hand on Emmeline's stomach, then he feels some movement. He tells Emmeline that how did you move your stomach like this? Emmeline says that I did not move, all this is happening automatically. Actually, Emmeline was pregnant, but both of them were unaware of this. One evening Richard hears some sound, so he runs away and immediately reaches there, where he sees that there were other people on this island other than these two. Actually, they were the permanent tribals, who used to come here every time to fulfill their rituals. And this time also they sacrificed their enemy to their god. Seeing this, Richard runs away in fear. When he was on his way back, he hears Emmeline's screams here. Actually, Emmeline was giving birth to her child under a tree. She gives birth to a boy because of Richard, which both of them are happy to see, and they bring him home. But that child was going to cry. Richard says that he is hungry. He tries to feed him water and food, but such a small child could neither eat nor drink. Now both of them did not understand what to do. When Emmeline takes the child in her lap, she starts drinking his milk, due to which that child becomes silent. He was a boy, so he named him Patty in memory of Patty. After that, Richard scolds Emmeline, and warns her never to go to the other side of the island again. One day Richard takes a boat to the old island, where Patty's skeleton was lying. Seeing the skeleton, he understands the structure of the body. Both of them were very happy, because of the new guest who came between them. They always love her. Some months pass by doing this, and that child grows up. One day, all three of them were playing on the beach. Then Richard's father Arthur reaches that island. He sees Richard but he thinks that maybe he is a permanent resident here. That's why he leaves from here. Richard and Emmeline had also seen that boat, but now they did not want to go back home, because they were both very happy here. One day he reaches the old island, where he had come with Patty for the first time. Coming here, he remembers the day after seeing his old things. Meanwhile, their child breaks the red poison berry, and puts it in his boat, which Emmeline did not know. Emmeline falls asleep while sitting in the boat, due to which her boat starts going into the sea. Patty accidentally drops the boat's hull into the water. When Emmeline wakes up, she tries to take him, but she was not reaching him. So she starts calling Richard, who went behind to get some fruit. Richard comes and jumps into the water. Then Emmeline sees a shark was coming after Richard. Now to save Richard, Emmeline hits the shark with a second helm. Emmeline saves Richard, but her boat without a helm was sailing off the island. Richard tries to catch her, but he is unable to catch her, and his boat goes deep into the sea. They had neither food nor water to drink. They could tolerate hunger and thirst, but they had a small child with them, so they were worried about him. Just like this, a couple of days pass because of hunger. That child eats red berries, which Emmeline sees, but now there was no use. Richard picks up berry and gives half to Emmeline, and keeps half to himself. They decide they'll die with that kid too, but that kid was still alive, and he was just sleeping, because he ate very few berries. But these people eat berries and go to sleep. Just then Richard's father sees their boat and they rush to the boat, where a man tells them they are alive, and that they are just asleep. And with this the film ends here.